children. You have all the kids that have ADD and all these different things that are considered disabilities that they go to school and they're having a hard time anyway in their reaction to life. And to put them in an environment where they're having a electrical type of energy penetrate their system that is not normal to human beings, then it's going to make it worse. It might make it 5% worse. It might make it 10% worse. But as a parent, you want to send your kids somewhere for school where they'll have a 10% worse time or a harder time to behave than they do at home. Does that make sense to anyone? No. Because you want to actually put them in an environment that's healthy, and you can do that just through a simple thing like insoles in their shoes, wearing bracelets, wearing a necklace. All those little things just help them in some way to cope with energy. I had one of the greatest learning experiences of my life when I went to New Mexico 2 years ago to give a talk. And the guy out there, Phil and Gloria is their name, were some of the most amazing people I've ever met in Deacon because they were so open-hearted about all the stuff that they would just give things away. And he had an amazing story for me that I replicated in my life, my own life. You see these little pads? This is a great example of the mattress that Deacon sells for sleep. It has a little magnet in the bottom. It's a special type of magnet that has a 6 different magnets in it that create an energy field when you sleep. So it exposes you to like the Earth's energy when you're asleep. Well, they send these kits out just as a sample so you can show them to people, right? Well, Phil orders 12 and 25 of these at a time. He throws them in the back of his beat-up pickup. And anytime he sees a kid that looks like he's having problems, he gives a kit to their parent, right? He says, here, have your kids sit on this when they go home. Or have them take it to school and sit on it, right? It comes with a little blankie. Is that up here? No, it's not, but it comes with a little blanket that has far infrared technology, which is a type of light frequency from the sun. And so he gives it to the kids, and they all just take it home. And you know what? They behave differently. And so he now has a school in New Mexico where he supplied the school with 12 car seats, Deacon car seats, and they have a room in that school that's called the bad behavior room. And any kid that gets upset or something runs down to the room and they sit in the chair for 5 minutes and they calm down and they go back to class, right? And the kids now, when they don't feel well or they're mad at someone, they know on their own to go to the room and sit down, right? And so I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, this is an amazing story to me, right? He's given this to people with Down syndrome. He had a grandmother at the meeting. She was Native American, probably 85 years old, knitting in the corner. And she came out and gave her story. She was one of the people that Phil ran into with one of these kids. And she had a grandson who was 4 years old with Down syndrome that they could not control. And Phil happened to run into them, and he gave him a kiss. So she took it home. He sat on it, and he calmed down in about 2 minutes. So she thought, well, that's pretty amazing. So she ordered some insoles. And because her feet were small, she trimmed the toes off, like you all have to do, right? And she trimmed the toes off and made a necklace for her grandson. And he has this in his chair, and he calms down, and when he misbehaves, he knows that he goes and gets his necklace, because that's the necklace that'll help him behave, right? And now, after a year of just being exposed to something like magnetic energy, he actually is calmer, and they have him enrolled in school. She thought he would never be ever able to leave the house. And what did we do for him? We did not cure anything. We just allowed his brain to go into a safer, more recognizable pattern of energy, more toward natural state of energy, and his world just seemed simpler to him. It seemed to make more sense. And that's really what it's about, isn't it? Making things easier for everybody to do something. So I got excited. I went home, and my wife had just got hired to take care of 3 kids with autism at a local school in Bowling Green. So it was a part-time job, and it was only for the fall. So I got excited, and I ordered 3 of these kits, right? And I took them home. I said, look, hon, just give them this kit for 1 day and tell me the difference in their behavior, right? Well, she didn't know what I was. She said, oh, okay, I'll try that, right? So she takes them in, gives them to the kids. They all sit down. They all behave better the entire day. And I never got the kits back because they wouldn't give them back. Right? As soon as you gave them this and the blankie, they all went like this. One of them cried because no one had ever given him anything. Right? They sat on this thing. They all just seemed better during the day. They were a little bit calmer, and they behaved differently. Now, all we did, again, for that person, and this is the thing with autism, and I know there's some people here connected to a group with that, but the reality is that there is so much signaling going on in the brain of autistic children where the signals are just not reaching where they should be. And so all magnetic energy does for them, it doesn't cure anything. It's not a magic bullet for anything. But because they're reconnected to a source that human beings are supposed to be connected to, their cells react a little bit differently. They're a little bit more coherent, and their world just makes a little bit more sense. It's a little less hectic in their brain energy, and maybe that only improves their condition by 5 or 10%. But isn't that an amazing thing for anybody to have happen? It just makes it easier for them to make a little bit more sense out of the world. What a great lesson that was for me as to how profound something so simple can be for anybody. And again, it's only because your body has been used to that since time began. And for most people, we're just disconnected. And now it's even worse because we're exposed to so much electricity and Wi-Fi and all these different cell phones that are creating competing frequencies. And this even goes right over into your water. Now, we all know everybody's dehydrated. We're all drinking really bad sources of water. You know, it's a common thing. Everybody knows we dump chemicals in our water to make it safe. And, you know, you can't be mad about that because your water is coming from some sewer system. It's been drank by 30 or 40 people already. It's been through the toilet. Someone has to put something in it so you can drink it, right? But it comes back to you, and it's in a form where you actually can drink it out of your faucet. But the problem is, it actually isn't healthy for you. Every single chemical they put in it to kill bacteria actually causes inflammation in your arteries. It causes inflammation in your brain. So, does anybody ever think that inflammation in your arteries or brain leads to anything that they've ever heard of? Like heart disease, Alzheimer's, dementia, memory problems. It's all rooted in inflammation in your system. Yet you can't be mad because they put it in it. It's just your job to actually change it when it gets to your house and turn it back into something that your body recognizes. Because it doesn't recognize dead water that's been sitting in a pipe overnight and that has chlorine, fluoride, and chlorine byproducts and aluminum in it. You know, most people don't realize we add aluminum to city water because if you don't, it looks cloudy and nobody likes cloudy water. So you're drinking aluminum every time you take a glass of water. And so you take that out and you turn it, again, back into the same idea of magnetics, something the body has recognized since time began. And that is living water that has a little bit of mineral in it, that actually has a magnetic charge, because since time began, we never drank water that wasn't laying on the planet Earth, that wasn't pulled out of a river, pulled out of a lake, pulled out of a well, something that was in connection to magnetic energy. And you know what's really fascinating? The molecules in the water react the exact same way to magnetic energy as the molecules in your blood, as the red blood cells do in your body. When they're not there, it clusters up and it comes into a form that's hard to absorb into your cell. But when it's actually connected to a magnetic energy source, the molecules flow freely around the water, and it makes it easy for your body to just take them in. And it's a very simple thing to do. Nikon has come out in the last year with this new product called the Waterfall, which is one of my favorite water product they've ever come out with. One, because anybody can afford to use it. It's very simple. Two, because it actually has, like most of their water systems, it has a component of magnetic energy in it, so it's actually charged. It's alkaline. It creates water about 9.5 alkalinity. And that's important because our diets are so full of acid-forming foods. You know, like Coca-Cola is a 2.5 acid, if you want to compare something. And so having alkaline water is just a great addition to your health, to your whole body's health. But the main thing I love about this is that it sits on your counter, visible every single day, and you never forget that it's important to drink water. And you know, my kids, I have 3 kids. I have a 16-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old. You're all probably thinking, well, he's kind of old. Well, I told you anyway. The reality is, the thing I really love about that is my kids now drink twice as much water because it's visual. It's not a little spigot. My 7-year-old can reach this. She couldn't reach over the sink to get the other one. And so they drink water all the time. They're hydrated because it's a visual thing. And human beings love visual things. I don't care if you're 40 years old, 50 years old, 80 years old. When you see your water sitting on the counter, it reminds you that you have to drink water. And it's water, you know, Nikon is one of the things they were founded on besides the magnets is living water. Replicating the type of water that flows down a mountain stream over rocks because of the amount of life force that has in it that is translated over into the plants in the area. You know, you can have, you know, I've seen so many of these experiments because I've been in Nikon for so long. You can take water like that and water a plant, or you can take water that you've microwaved or comes out of your faucet, put 2 plants together and keep watering them for a month or 2, and notice the difference in the growth of those plants. One will look stunted. It won't even grow with microwave water, just so you know that. You're all out there microwaving your food. It's one of the worst things you could ever do. So you compare the plants, and one looks healthy and alive, and the other one is basically stunted and dead. Why would anyone want to introduce that into their system if they don't want to be stunted and dead? I don't really want to be like that. So the reality is your body reacts differently and utilizes things differently, especially when it's in a form that it actually